Question is, could easy water contain memory? Well, when we think of memory, we think of a thumb drive like this. And so the first question is, well, how does this store information? I think many of you know better than I do how it does. And typically inside, you have silicon atoms that are arrayed in a regular, not two-dimensional lattice, but 3 dimensions. And each one can be addressed separately. And through a rather complicated mechanism, which I think is not really fully understood, the silicon can take on either of 2 states, which we assign a 0 or a 1. So each one of these has 2 possible states. Now, if you compare this standard computer memory with EZ, if you look at the structure, we have pretty much the same structure. If you look at the oxygens which exist at each of these vertices, they're regularly arrayed in these 2 dimensions and also in the 3rd dimension. So you have a lot of oxygens sitting in a regular array. And the question is it possible that if you apply electromagnetic waves or subtle energies or whatever, that these energies could impact specific oxygen atoms to occupy one state or another? Now, what's really interesting is that oxygen has not 2 states, but actually 5 different states, 5 oxidation states. So it means either -2 is what we are familiar with, but also if you read any chemistry book, you have not only -2, -1, 0, +1, and +2. It means it means that each one of these has not 2 states, but 5 different states. And if you do the arithmetic, it turns out that the possible information density in one of this is, I forget the number, but something like 10 to the 8th or 10 to the 9th times the information storage capacity of an ordinary digital memory. So huge information storage capacity, and since we have this water inside our body, it means that our bodies should be capable of storing enormous amounts of information. And a question that arises, of course, is will information storage in EZ water, particularly solid EZ water, replace conventional information storage? Well, perhaps the most famous person who had been looking into information or subtle energy or intention storage is Masaru Emoto. 2 of whose followers you heard this morning. And typically what he was doing, the kinds of experiments he did, was to either play music, for example, Mozart, to the water, and then freeze the water and obtain crystals. And John Lennon and such, and either he would think of the word peace or thank you, and he could get beautiful crystals. On the other hand, if he said, I think this means you fool, or heavy metal music, then he would get ugly crystals. Many scientists doubt this, but anyway, you can make your own judgment. And here, right after Fukushima, when the water was full of radioactivity, he came to bring his prayers and his intention to water to clear it. And many people are now following from Emoto sensei, and 2 of them you heard a moment ago. So the answer to question number 2, is EZ physically distinct from the bulk? The answer is yes. I presented a list of evidence, and by now the list can be extended by another half dozen pieces of evidence, including that you can solidify it at room temperature. And at best, we understand it's a layered honeycomb structure with information storage capability. Okay, so